Vsauce, Kevin here with a perfect explanation for a 56% reduction in violent crime between 1992 and 2002. A study of uniform crime reporting data found that removing lead from gasoline over a decade before reduced lead's detrimental effects on children's developing brains. So, when they grew up, they committed less crime. Makes sense, right? Wrong! Using the Bureau of Justice Statistics National Crime Victimization Survey data showed that leaded gasoline had no effect at all on violent crime rates. It wasn't 56%, it was 0%. Two datasets led to two completely opposite conclusions because measuring social phenomena is hard, and it's actually a really new thing. 200 years ago, no one even measured crime rates. Now we measure everything. The problem is that most of our measurements are wrong. We've been counting people for a while. China had censuses over 4,000 years ago. The Romans conducted censuses for taxation and military conscription. Censura in Latin literally means to tax, and William the Conqueror ordered the Doomsday Book to be compiled in 1086. But even then, it was just counting people, property, and farm animals. There was nothing about people's lives, let alone keeping track of what they did to harm others. Democracy had matured by the 5th century BC in Athens, but demography didn't exist until the 1600s. English haberdasher John Grant analyzed the weekly Bills of Mortality, official lists of births, deaths, and causes of death, to better understand life in the 1660s. 170 years later, André-Michel Guerry changed everything. His 1832 presentation to the French Academy of Sciences detailed the moral statistics of France. Assaults, murders, suicides, Guerry tracked them all, revealing that their rates differed throughout France and by age, sex, race, and other general demographics we still use. There were some odd findings, like literacy rates weren't correlated with crimes against people, while higher literacy rates were correlated with crimes against property. Apparently, reading makes you break things. And math finally collided with morality. The social statistics era boomed. Some people wanted to lock up more criminals. Others wanted to spend more money on social services they thought would reduce crime. Does this sound familiar? Guerry proclaimed, "We are forced to recognize that the facts of the moral order are subject, like those of the physical order, to invariable laws." The truth is that crime statistics are highly variable. Highly. Do you have or know children? Would you like to mold a young mathematical mind in the image of vsauce? You may have heard that Mel Science is now part of our Curiosity Box family. Well, this is what I've been working on. Math can feel like it's mostly in your mind, but it's actually all around us. And now I'm putting it in the next generation's hands with the world's first math experiments subscription box. Each month, kids get new math projects with step-by-step video instructions and lessons from me in the app. This level of beauty and precision would be impossible to draw by hand, and all it takes is a few smartly constructed gears. They'll build a range of hands-on projects that introduce high-level concepts in math, engineering, and the human experiences behind them. This is the gift to give a kid in your life who you want to solve the problems of tomorrow. Go to melscience.com/Kevin. You will see me literally on the webpage. This is my math box. It's going to be awesome. Get 50% off your first box with code Kevin. Only available in the US for now. Get math out of their heads and into their hands. Link down in the description below. We'll get back to the video, but remember, math box. Go ahead, get the math box. Okay. The first problem is uniformity in police forces, in data collection, and in laws. Cool. What does that mean? Here's an example. Let's say the rate of assault annually is 1,655 per 100,000 in Scotland, 23 in India, and 291 in Estonia. Is a Scottish guy just 70 times more likely to punch you in the face than an Indian? Are Estonians relatively well-behaved? Let's analyze the data. Scotland has had a well-publicized alcoholism epidemic, and alcohol is a frequent component of assaults. Scotland consumes 9.4 liters of pure alcohol per adult every year, and India consumes just 5.7 liters. So it would make sense that Scotland would have a lot more assaults, which was a major argument by the teetotaler movement and prohibition. But Estonia consumes 11.6 liters per adult annually, and their assault numbers are way lower than Scotland's, so it's more complex than this. Maybe it's more police. Scotland has 318 per 100,000 residents. India has just 152, so less policing might mean fewer reported crimes. Is it just easier to get caught and held responsible in Scotland? Estonia has 336 police per 100,000, which is a little more than Scotland. So, does that additional 5.6% of police presence make a huge difference in deterring assaults? I doubt it. This has to be a question of laws. Maybe Scotland's assault laws are so loosely defined that their rate is artificially inflated. Well, no. Scottish law considers assault to be an act that causes bodily harm or leads one to think bodily harm is imminent, which is pretty sensible. Are India's definitions of assault so narrowly defined and severely restricted that hardly anything qualifies? It's actually the complete opposite. Section 351 of the Indian Penal Code has such a broad definition that it includes shaking your fist in a threatening manner. So, what's the answer here? Do the Scottish just report everything to the police? Do Indians handle fist-shaking problems themselves so police never even know about the crimes? Maybe Estonia is obsessive about crime tracking and the Indians are a decade behind in their paperwork. Who knows? This is the problem with moral statistics. What looks like an apples-to-apples comparison can be apples to aardvarks. The second problem is data can change over time. In Boston, the Cambridge-Somerville Youth Study was conducted in 1945. It went like this. 253 pairs of boys were matched by age, IQ, and a range of social factors. Researchers flipped a coin to see which of the two would receive counseling, tutoring for school, and even a summer camp getaway. The idea was that delivering all those social supports would improve their life's outcomes. The research showed it didn't really do anything. Then 30 years later, a researcher followed up on the lives of all the boys involved in the study and found that the ones who received counseling committed more crime and had higher rates of alcoholism and mental illness, which is pretty weird. The third problem is money. You've got to show results to keep your jobs and your funding. That perverse incentive seems to have led the LAPD to misclassify 1,200 violent crimes as minor offenses in 2012 to 2013 to reduce its crime rate on paper. That same year, the Chicago Police Department erased murders from official crime statistics once they realized they wouldn't be able to solve them. In 1946, criminology professor Paul Toppin wrote that we study the criminals convicted by the courts, and not the real criminal at all, but an insignificant proportion of non-representative and stupid unfortunates who happen to become enmeshed in technical legal difficulties. And that's the fourth problem. A significant portion of crimes go unreported, and many of the major criminals go free while their foot soldiers get caught. But even when we know a crime has happened and who's responsible, we'd struggle to know why. Is there correlation? Is there causation? Does a decrease in crime reflect a new law being effective or better policing? Or is it a statistical mirage caused by a regression to the mean? Or some social factor no one has even considered? And what are the unintended consequences of our interventions? The fifth problem is that the media reports the numbers it's got, and sometimes the numbers it's incentivized to report, which can lead to media-generated crime waves and moral panics. Crime rates affect property values, where people choose to live, what schools their kids attend. They determine where we as a society assign blame, and they can infect our social attitudes. Our perception of crime, sometimes too strong, sometimes too light, informs who we elect to lead and write laws for towns, cities, states, and nations. The final problem is you. Did you ever do something bad as a kid, and when your mom asked you, "Why did you do it?" you said, "I don't know." And you really, truly did not know. It's the same with criminology. There's such a complex relationship of psychological, biological, social, emotional, and economic factors that even when it's happening in our own heads, we usually can't make any sense of it. So, if we can't trust the numbers and we can't trust ourselves, what are we left with? Knowing that we don't know is probably a good place to start. And as always, thanks for watching.